What is your relationship like? And do you think that it could ever be applied to esports, radio commentary instead, besides like on air?
Fascinating, man. Occasionally I do get messages from people who are like, I was driving from Colorado to New York and I had the games on. And when you were on, I felt like I was there. I felt like I knew what was going on. I knew the score, because that's something I like to do, to just like hook you back in, like a little flag of like 25-25, boom, whatever. In the course department, phase up by 20. Little flag.
Right.
Some people really, really appreciate that. I think it's difficult because COD is esports is such a visual experience.
Yeah,
man.
it is. Yeah.
The graphics are sick.
Right. Yeah.
The skins are sick. I think it's difficult to do that, but I genuinely believe that there is space for it.
Yeah.
And when I hear people say that, like, yeah, I can't look at the game, but I can listen to it, and I'm hype.
Yeah, right.
I'm on the 10 and I'm hype. I think it's awesome to hear that, man, because I do want people to be able to be like, well, I've got to go for a piss, or I've got to go get a new drink. And I've gone to the kitchen. Whoa, FaZe just kept B.
Right.
Or like Optic just planted the bomb. Like, okay, so now I've got 40. I know I have 40 seconds to get back.
Right. Yeah.
Or there's these little chapters in the game that we have to create, and I think that we do that. And I think without the visuals there, you could still do it.
I think in American sports, and specifically baseball and college football, it seems like there's home bases for radio stations. And so the radio stations, like they're just on, people just have them on, and the commentary is so different. It's trips right, and it's 3rd and 5 on the 3rd and 5 on the 45-yard line, and there's just so much information that is spit out, and then ball snap, and then
but that's still such important, like, contextual information. You can't just tell you everything. It's like he's scratching his ass. No. You got to give the most concise and important stuff.
But that being said, if Tom Brady, Tony Romo was on air on ESPN, and every play saying it's 3rd and 5, and it just regurgitating the information that everyone can already see, it's not as good a commentary. Like, it's two separate versions of commentary. And I've always wondered, and I've talked to Corey Dunn about this, and he said it's been tried 100 times, and for me to just relax. But I've always wondered if there's a way to get like a radio exclusive type of commentary for esports, but because there's so many people.
You make a piece of it where you just don't show the game. You just show the casters, or you show a crowd's face,
right?
Like facial expressions.
Yeah.
And you call the moment, and then the crowd, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, and that could happen. I think you could do that.
Yeah.
But the commentators have to really adjust style.
Oh, for sure.
Specifically to do that. But that's one of the sort of primary tenets of like play-by-play. I'm not going to tell you the shit you can already see.
Of course.
I'm going to try not to, unless it's really fucking important. Yeah. And in this game, sadly, sometimes Codcaster bugs out where I'm like, he's got 6 rounds in that magazine. Barely enough to get a kill, because you usually miss the first one.
Yeah.
Unless you're Bruce or whatever. But that sort of stuff is, unless it's really important.
Yeah.
Really important. It's hard not to.
I mean, I can't even imagine like a I don't think it's ever even been done before, but in like a radio style commentary of a hard point would be insane. You would only be talking about the rotations. Yeah. You would be talking about whoever's trying to anchor for that next hill. And then while you're talking about it, it looks like number 4, Shotzi has lost and now fucking Surge is getting points while Optic's trying to, like, you would talk so much more.
You'd have to still tell the story. Yeah. This is a really good way to distill what's happening in a hard point. You're distilling down the placement of all 8 players in the game, the placement of that current hard point. We're coming up to P1.
Exactly. Then, I love how you went to like the old English.
First man of the time, Anthony Cuevas Castro. Coming at a 5-2, a $110. But boy, does he move fast. He finds 2, brought down immediately, traded by Pred. That's what you still got like account for all the players, what's happening in the time, and then 15, 20 seconds out.
Right.
Then start to talk about what's happening next. But yeah, man, that's a good way of looking at hardpoint in general, man.
I was really deep into that like 3 years ago. I had this like idea because I think it's kind of hard. You talked about stand-up comedy, which I thought was interesting because I kind of equate it to that as well, where it's like stand-up comedy is something that you see people doing. You see the biggest stand-ups, but you don't see people trying to do stand-up. You only see, and unless like you're in the scene, like, then you go to like improvs, you'll go to
dirty open mics.
Yeah, you go to open mics and stuff. But like, I'm not going to watch a tour of a stand-up guy that I don't know of. And you know what I mean? And I feel like commentating is the same way. Like everyone wants to be a pro. They know the path to get into a pro. You got to win online events, you got to win locals, and then eventually get your name out there. But how the fuck do you become a commentator?
Yeah. Well, now one of us has got to die. physically or metaphysically, like one of us has got. There's so few spots.
Yeah,
and that's really, and that's part of. It's a blessing and a curse. A blessing because you've got it, you know you're good, and you've got to work really hard to maintain it. But it's a curse because the pipeline is not as fruitful. There's not as many. Yeah. There are prospects and there are lots of up and coming talent. Don't worry, we're looking at you. But it's not as many opportunities at the moment. Yeah. And that's a problem. And that's why things like College Card, awesome. Because, you know, what Shift and the guys are doing over there, you're creating a space for people to work. Everyone is always like, how do you do it? How do you do it? I'm like, well, you have to already do it.
Right.
You have to already do it well to even get noticed by the bosses. And then you have to prove your...
And you need a time machine. You need to go back to Halo events in... Halo 3 events.
2009.
Yeah, 2009. Yeah.
But you
overseas.
In a small region. Smaller region in the US. But you do really, really have to be lucky and already good. Yeah. You have to be good.
Yeah.
My first Halo World Champs gig, so again, I think this is the best advice I've got for anyone is be good. Do everything you possibly can to enrich your skills and enrich your ability, whether that's your data retention and how you can recall information, how you can relay that information, actually talk about it. How fun you can be, how much energy you can have, how clear you can be, concise, all that shit. Great. Mechanically be good. But then also work fucking hard to be lucky. And by that, I mean, when I first got the Halo World Championship Australian leg of the things, it was like the qualifiers for Worlds. Small Twitter following, nothing serious, but I took it seriously because I was promoting the game, promoting the shows, and I got a follow from someone called Giggly Foe, PHO, and I was like, you know, Twitter egg, old school Twitter egg logo. I was like, whatever, it's annoying. But they were tweeting me quite a lot. They tweet me things like, hey, what time the game's today? And I'm like, well, Giggly Foe from my IT desk. Match started, blah, blah, blah. Here's the link. And I was always kind of cordial, always very friendly, always very nice. Yeah. When I finished those qualifiers, at the very, very end of all of that, I got a DM from Giggly Foe. Be like, hey, Mars, my name is Redacted. I work at Microsoft. And I'm like one of the senior product managers of the Halo World Championships. Do you want to come to LA?
Oh my God.
And I was like, fuck off. So I took my phone to my boy who did work with Microsoft. And I was like, who's this? And he was like, the sneaky motherfucker. Like, that's a burner. And you were being watched.
Wow.
You never know who's watching. You never know who's in the room. You never know who's asking those questions on socials. You never know. And, you know, she did legitimately just go, yeah, I was just watching the whole time. And you were being vetted and you were being sort of like, can we trust this guy to do a good job and not be a piece of shit online? And yeah, do that.
Wow.
And that was sneaky. And then when I met her, I was like, what's up with that? It's like,
it's part of the job.
She's like, I've got only 50, 60 of those accounts, you know. It's like, I take my job really seriously. And she was so cool for that. And their name will remain redacted because
of course.
These things happen.
Because Giggly Foe might still be out there.
I think Giggly Foe is still a follower. And I still have that DM and I'm like, shit, this is where it all began. But that is the, you know, be good, work hard.
Right.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Is the absolute, don't be, it's not that hard to not be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Unless you are a piece of shit, in which case
it will get found out.
And you will be flushed. Or picked up and put in a bag.
I'm sure that's a conversation for a different day. There's probably been a few of those that have been flushed out.
Yeah.